All right, we're back for the AL. We got our friend of the pod, FO, I don't know, Tim Van Straten of ESPN Peoria. How are we doing, Tim?
What an intro. I'm honored to be the first friend of the pod. I'm excited. Let's do this.
All right, so let's start with the New York Yankees. I have.
Well,
Oh,
first,
sorry,
probably
Baltimore
introduce what we're
Orioles.
doing here.
All right, so we are going through the season starts tomorrow. This is going up on Wednesday. So we're going to go through all the teams and sort of talk about them in a quick and orderly fashion. Sound good?
I love it. Let's do it.
All right, starting with the bottom of the AL East, we're going to start with the Boston Red Sox, who went 24-36 last year in the shortened 2020 season. I do not have their transactions pulled up yet, but I don't think they did anything remarkable.
Did they really finish last place in the AL East last year? That's amazing.
Apparently so. They finished with a record of 24-36. The Orioles finished with 25-35. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Notebook. Thanks, Secretary. Yeah, they sucked. And I'm looking at their transactions. They signed Kike Hernandez. I remember that offhand. And they got a new old manager in Mr. Alex Cora. So what are your
Hooray!
thoughts? So what are your thoughts on the Red Stockings?
I never thought, Brandon, that I would see a day where the Red Sox traded one of their players to the Royals. Like that wasn't just like a salary dumper. Like the fact that the Royals were the buyers of Andrew Benintendi, and the Red Sox parted with him is just simply amazing. Honestly, this is such a strange team because you look at their lineup and, JD Martinez is about as consistent as they come. Xander Bogaerts is one of the most underrated players in all of baseball. Devers has the potential to be an MVP candidate. They got a lot of other good young bats. Bobby Dahlbeck, who's going to be their first baseman this year, is just having a massive spring. But their rotation is just straight garbage. Like Chris Sale's on the shelf. Eduardo Rodriguez, I have no idea what his deal even is. He's got a bevy of issues right now. They signed Garrett Richards, who's been lit up this spring. Nathan Eovaldi, Martin Perez, Nick Pivetta. I mean, it's just a whole lot of crap. So I think in that division where you got so many good lineups, they're going to get absolutely lit up this year pitching wise. I think it's going to be a rough year in Boston, to be honest with you, unless the bats really, really carry them.
I think they're gonna suck. I think they're better than the Orioles, but I don't think they're a third place team. So if you're a Red Sox fan, hunker down. It's gonna be a rough one.
I'm using DraftKings Sportsbook for my over-under win totals. They have the Red Sox at 80.5. I'm inclined to take the under, and I feel pretty good about it.
I agree. I got them at 82. Or I got them at, 80. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so
moving on
we got
to
the Orioles.
Yeah, so moving on to the Orioles, who finished with a 1 win better than the Red Sox with 25 wins and 35 losses. Orioles trade away Alex Cobb to some team in Los Angeles for a bag of peanuts and a kitchen sink cookie from Panera Bread. So what are your thoughts on the Baltimore Orioles?
So I don't know if you saw this, but Felix Hernandez opted out of his Orioles deal. He didn't make the team.
I did see that, but Matt Harvey did.
Yeah, not only did Matt Harvey make the team, Matt Harvey's currently projected as their number 2 starter
behind
John Means. And actually, John Means is someone who I think is pretty underrated. A lot of fantasy baseball people have pegged John Means as like a very late round sleeper, and it's not a bad pick by any means, pun intended. But like behind Means, there's no one really in that rotation. The lineup, Trey Mancini's back. That's a good story. Santander and Mountcastle are actually a pretty decent 1-2 punch, and both of them are still in their mid-20s. Ryan Mountcastle in particular is 24 years old. I just think a lot of people are waiting for Adley Rutschman to make his call-up, which I think he will at some point this year, and he'll be the everyday catcher at some point. Like, there's some good bats. Austin Hayes is nice too, but they're a few years away, and they're in a really good division right now, so it's hard to really expect a whole lot from them, but they're not an absolute dumpster fire like a team like the Pirates are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, they're in a better position than I think a lot of people give them credit for, or well, not credit, but in a division where you got the Yankees, so it's like keep your head above water. They got some good guys. I think Chance Psycho,
Cisco, I think.
Cisco. I think Chance Cisco's a good one. He's still fairly young. Uh, Mount Castle's really good, and same thing with you're talking about their catcher of the future there. Um, I, it's looking up in Baltimore. It just might take a little bit, but I think good things in the future. Anthony Santander's a stud in the making. So,
Yeah.
so what we got the Orioles pegged at for the
Like
what?
like I'm just curious. I'm looking at their top prospects and like Rutschman is the one that's going to be called up probably this year. They got a lot of other good guys. They had a like an outfielder, Heston Kjerstad, a couple pitchers, but those guys aren't going to be available for another year or two. So, like I said, like the future is looking good in Baltimore, but they're just not quite there right now. Now, they're over under as at 64.5. I don't think that they are in the Colorado range or in the Pittsburgh range. So I'm going to go over that 64.5. And even if that's like 66, 67 wins, I think 64.5 is a little low for them because I do like some of their young pieces.
Yeah, I got him pegged at about 66 wins, and I think that's probably about where they'll be. But going off what you were saying, yeah, I agree. I think the over based on like the 60 win thing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on up to, I believe, the Toronto Blue Jays, the 90 sperm
Yes.
baby team with the record of 32 and 28. This team didn't do anything whatsoever. They only added George Springer and Kirby Yates, whose elbow is officially dead. He will be going under Tommy John surgery. They almost had another outfielder who went back to the Astros and Michael Brantley, but the Blue Jays look to be doing some good things this year. What are your thoughts on the Blue Jays?
Is it fair to say that they have the potential to have the best lineup 1 through 9 in the American League? And keep in mind, like Houston's still going to be really good. The White Sox, even without Jimenez, are going to be really good. The Yankees lineup is stacked, but like 1 through 9, this has the potential to be absolutely lethal, right?
I think so.
Like Springer and Simeon are the 1 2 who are new acquisitions who each of them can hit 30 home runs. Bichette is only getting better at 23 years old. Vlad Jr. is still just 22 years old. He just turned 22 years old. So the future is immensely bright for him. And really, like a couple guys who people don't talk about on that team a ton is Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel, who are their two corner outfielders. Each of them are in their 20s, and I think each of them have absolute mammoth potential. Teoscar Hernandez, in particular, I think could hit 35, 36 homers this year. They're that good offensively. Pitching wise, Ryu was phenomenal last year. Stripling's decent. Tanner Roark is a nice veteran in the back end. Steven Matz was their big acquisition. Um, to me, this is a team that desperately will need pitching at the start of the deadline. So look for them to acquire pitching sometime in July. They still have Robbie Ray, who is going to play at some point, and then Nate Pearson, who's one of their top prospects, I think will be in that rotation. So they will have some in-house reinforcements, which I think will help. But I really like the Blue Jays, and I hope that the offseason hype is not too much for them to where they disappoint. Keep in mind too, they're also going to be playing a nice handful of games in Dunedin again, and they're not going to be able to be in Toronto until I think May at the earliest.
Yeah, I know they're still dealing with COVID lockdowns, and as we record this, apparently we're headed towards apparently another spike. But I'm also filibustering because I own a Nate Pearson rookie card.
Oh,
So if Nate Pearson, I'm gonna try to fold it out here. If Nate Pearson does well, it might bode well for your boy here. Let me see if I can find it. There we
I
go.
think he can. I
Like
want to
that.
see what his comps are and all of that.
Come on,
But
hold on, come on, come on. Hello, oh, show, come on, please, work with me. Come on, webcam, focus. I mean,
oh yeah, there it is. Sorry. Oh yeah. Oh look at that.
I also have a K. I know we're not there yet, but I have a KZ Mize card too. So I got
You're
some I,
prepared.
I got some cheddar going for these fellas that they do well.
6'6", 245. He's a big dude.
They
Powerful. I'm assuming that he's got a power fastball. Like, you can't be 6'6", 245 and then just throw, like, anything besides just fiery cheese.
and
So, yeah, I like the Blue Jays.
unless you're Jared Weaver who throws 88.
That's true. Yeah, but he was also like a buck 40.
All right, so what do we got the Blue Jays at?
I have the Blue Jays, Brandon, the Dunedin / Toronto Blue Jays. I have sitting right now at 86.5. It's
Ooh.
such a hard number because, like, everyone looks and say, yeah, they could win 90 games, but also, Tampa, the Yankees. I'm going to bank on pitching coming around, acquisitions perhaps later in the year, the offense mashing, and I'm going to say that this is an 88 win team this year. I hope, and take the over.
I'm with you on that one. I think they win. I think they win 88 games.
Next,
Next, we got the New York Knickerbockers with a record of 33 and 27. I don't. I'm gonna check the team, but I don't recall any big names. I know they re-signed a lot of fellas. They're getting some guys back from injuries. They cut a few guys, but I don't believe they added anybody big, unless I'm totally like missing something completely and utterly obvious.
well, I must have missed when they changed their name from the Yankees to the Knickerbockers.
It's been a long day.
That's fair.
The New York Yankees. They signed Corey Kluber to a massive 1-year deal. Stole him from the Angels. Apparently doing really really well. They acquired Jamison Talon from the failing Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're gonna get they got
That's a move.
yeah, it's a move. They got Andujar back from injury, which is I'm surprised he's not gonna get traded at some point. Clint Frazier looks like a rising star, and they re-sign Brett Gardner. How do we feel about these Yankees?
Uh, uh, so it's funny because the Luke Voigt injury actually hurts them a
It
lot.
does.
And I think that a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, they'll be fine. But Luke Voigt, for those several weeks that he's going to be out due to knee surgery, are going to be really big because he's someone who the middle of that lineup absolutely depended on it. As much as we want to look and say, oh, yeah, Giancarlo Stanton will move into that spot. I mean, right now, as it stands, LeMahieu, Judge 1-2, great. Aaron Judge has been healthy for the last 2 or 3 years. Hicks struggles with injuries. We know Stanton struggles with injuries. Jay Bruce is going to be filling in at first base. Is he an everyday guy? I don't think so. So, like, there are a lot of injury-prone guys in this lineup, and they say it a lot in basketball, but I think it applies to baseball too, where what is the thing that is the best predictor of injuries? Previous injuries. So for me, it's hard to look at that lineup and expect them to be healthy and productive for all 162 games or close to it. Now, on paper, they're going to mash, but the Void injury, I think, kind of sets them back quite a bit. The starting rotation, of course, Garrett Cole is dominant. Tyen, I think, was a nice acquisition. I can't depend though on Corey Kluber. Domingo Herman hasn't pitched in a while because he was serving a suspension. I do think Jordan Montgomery might actually end up being the third best starter on this team, even though he's currently their 5. And they got a nice bullpen, so it's a really good team, but one that I'm not absolutely sold on as being like a mid to high 90s team, like some may think.
All right, what are the over under on your end saying they're at?
I got 95.5 for the Yankees right now, and I am going to go under on the Yankees. I think that they are probably going to be about a 92 win team when it's all said and done.
I think based on previous injury history, they are going to settle. They're going to be under. I see them probably as like a 90 win team maximum. I think having guys like Talon who have injury issues, Herman who hasn't pitched in a while, and then not really knowing what you're getting in the minor leagues from guys like uh, Devi Garcia and all that. I think there's so many questions on the backside of this team that saying
Mhm.
they're going to run away with the East is just not a smart idea.
Yeah, it's surprising how really not deep they are. Like, they got a couple like decent outfielders in the back of Mike, including Mike Talkman, who I might add, Bradley University graduate. But
Talkman the Sockman?
uh, yeah, did you know that, Bradley? Big fans of him here in Peoria, but like they don't have a ton of depth, and especially if you look at like if Glaber Torres goes down, like that's going to be huge. If Gio Urshela goes down at third, I don't no idea what's happening with Miguel Andujar. I don't even know if the dude exists still. Um, so yeah, I don't know. They really can't afford to get hurt again, but I feel like they will. So we're both going under there.
All right, moving on to the world champion runner-ups, the Tampa Bay Rays, with a 40 record of 40-20 last year. They come in this year, not really doing a whole lot. Again, once again, they trade away Blake Snell to get loaded prospects in return. They re-signed an old familiar face, Chris Archer, to a big league deal. But they still have guys like and they signed Rich Hill. But they still have guys like Tyler Glass now, who's a bona fide ace. Brennan McKay also has his rookie card, so if he wants to do well this year, I would gladly appreciate it. Guys like Trevor Richards. All worth noting, they have a guy named Brett Honeywell Jr. who's a big name in there. And they trade away power lefty and Jose Alvarado. Um, Offensively, they're kind of okay. They re-signed Mike Zunino, who's more of a meh hitter, but he'll have for some power. Top prospects, and Wander Franco. I kept looking at Willie Adames.
Yes, Wander.
Wander Franco, stud in the making. Vidal Brujan, another really good guy. Some guy named Randy. Uh, the World Series hero Brett Phillips. They got some mashers. What do we think about the Tampa Bay Rays?
So every single year I look at the Rays and I'm like, they shouldn't be as good as they are, but yet they end up being good. So it's the same thing this year. Like I, on paper, it's not the lineup that Toronto or the Yankees are bringing to the table. The starting rotation, I mean, the back end of that rotation, you get past Glass now and Yarbrough because they traded Blake Snell. I mean, like at the end of the day, they traded their best pitcher, Blake Snell. That should mean a lot. And they essentially replaced Snell with a combination of Chris Archer, a former Ray, Michael Waka, and Rich Hill. Like three veteran guys. Rich Hill, by the way, just turned 41 years old. Um, but yet I feel like it's going to work. Their bullpen has so much variety, tons of swing and miss guys. Looking at Fangraph's depth chart right now, they have 5 relievers all in the closer role. So,
It's
like, they're the
so gross.
ultimate closer by committee, where instead of like 2 guys sharing it, it's 5 guys sharing it because all 5 of them are capable. So, I think they're going to win with their bullpen. Um, I think the starting pitching will be good enough, and we know that Kevin Cash doesn't have a very long hook for those starters anyway. Really, there's 2 things that I'm really fascinated about. Number one, can Randy Arozarena become a star and carry it over from last year's postseason? And if he can, then this team is going to be much better. And number two, when's Wander Franco going to come up? Because by all accounts, he is maybe the best hitting prospect that we have seen since Juan Soto, maybe.
Probably.
It's legitimate 80 grade hitting ability, and he has very little experience past high A, but he'll be up in Tampa Bay at some point this year. I don't know when. He'll be probably their starting third baseman, if I had to guess. They'll put him at third and see what he can do. And if he can hit right away, then this team is going to be really good once again.
Yep. So I got them at about 97 wins. What's the over/under showing on the sports book?
I got 85.5.
Oh
It's
wait. Oh,
yet again,
sorry. 86. My bad.
people are underestimating the Rays. And I understand why, but they have them as about a third place team right now. 85.5. I will cautiously go over.
I think I agree with you. I think over. I just I,
I don't
I
know. Well, like I don't know if they're going to be like. For all we know, they could win 96 games this year.
it,
Like they
I'm
could win 96. It could be 86.
I'm hard pressed to be like to discount them as they went to the World Series and almost forced it to a Game 7. So
Mhm.
it's very hard for me to say, oh, hey, this team might not even be 500. Like I think that's a little
Even,
much.
even though there is like a curse of teams like World Series runner-ups, right? Like World Series runner-ups, we've seen disappoint the year after. So it wouldn't be totally crazy if Tampa Bay won only like 82, 83 games. But Franco, Honeywell coming up, I think that they could really be a second half surging team.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the AL Central, we are going to start with the Detroit Tigers with a record of 23-35. In the offseason, not really a whole lot. They signed the cheater out of Houston to be their new manager. In terms of deals, not a whole heck of a lot going on. They signed Jose Urania. That's basically their big signing. The biggest thing they did was draft Spencer Torkelson out of Arizona last year in the draft, but this team really is staying pat where they are with pitchers like Matt Boyd, Tyler Alexander, and up and coming stars rookie card I have for Casey Mize. So if he does well, that'd be great. Also Matt Manning. So the future's looking bright in Detroit. I just don't know how long it's going to take for them to sort of get there.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be really bad, right? Like, is that fair to say that they're just going to be a really bad team this year?
Yeah, having the Cabrera contract is very similar to the Albert Pujols contracts, where it's
Yeah.
just like, can we end this contract yet? He's
Now
just an
they did
aging
add
star.
like it's funny too because they're like a clear rebuilding team, but they added a bunch of veteran guys randomly. Like Nomar Mazara, Wilson Ramos, and Robbie Grossman are all projected to be in their lineup. Um,
I
like
wonder.
very random mix there. Like Julio Teheran and Jose Urania are also in their rotation, kind of punctuating between Scooble and Mize, the couple rookies, and then Matthew Boyd, of course. Derek Holland was added as a non-roster invite. So like it's a weird group there. It's a division where every other team you could see being pretty decent except them. And they don't really have a whole lot of people, particularly in their lineup, that it's like, oh man, I can't wait to watch them. So
Spencer Torkelson.
it's gonna be a long year in Detroit.
All I gotta hope and say, if you're a Detroit fan, just get ready for some of these guys, and hope and pray that Jack Leiter falls to you at 6, because dear God, that guy is on another level. All right.
No way that Jack Leiter doesn't go within the top 3 picks, right? Like, isn't it going to be Rocker and Leiter 1, 2?
Who's the number 2 pick in that draft?
Oh, I was gonna. Oh, like what team?
I the only reason the last time I looked at the MLB, like an MLB mock draft, they had him going 6 to Detroit, with with Kumar going number 1 overall.
I'm gonna go to this most recent mock
Okay,
draft. The
sorry.
first thing I clicked on Prospects Live from March 18th. They
Is
had
it
the Pirates taking Rocker 1, the Rain. Okay, so the Rangers take Lawler,
Lawler
shortstop
2?
2, and then Tigers have the third pick
Oh,
where they
sorry.
would take Jack
Oh,
Leiter.
I'm sorry. He has number 3. Yeah. So Leiter. I think Leiter goes. I think Leiter's there. The bet. Yeah. So the future's looking good. At least you get, dude. I'm telling you, if the Angels, if Jack Leiter falls to 9, I will openly kiss Perry on the mouth. Just saying.
Please don't. Um, I will. I will like run around my house naked. I live across from a school, so I'm risking the threat of being a sex offender if Jack Leiter falls ninth to the Angels.
Hey,
I'm just
don't.
gonna throw that out.
Hey, don't worry. We have. I have a buddy, or we have a buddy. Our bearded friend Robbie lived across the street from his school, and he flashed that school many a time.
Oh, that's good. That makes me feel better.
All right.
All right. I got the Tigers here at 68.5. I'm gonna go under on them.
I got them at 67, and I think you're right. I think under's very likely for them. It's not going to be a good year in the Motor City. I don't think it's going to be a good year in the Motor City for a lot of their sports, unless the Red Wings magically don't suck again. But that's another topic for another day. All right, moving
Oh,
on
they're
to
terrible. The Red Wings are terrible. The Pistons are terrible. The Lions, I think, might be the worst team in football this year.
Jared
Yeah,
Goff,
it's
baby.
everything is so bad in Detroit. It's so bad. So it's awful.
All right, moving on to the Kansas City Royals.
Royals.
They were in the World Series a few years ago. They re-signed their catcher Salvador Perez to a long-term deal recently. But for the Royals, I think it's going to be another rough year in Kansas City. Not a lot to show for it. Not a lot of big guys coming up out of the minor leagues for them. It's gonna be a rough year. Alberto Mondesi is amazing. I'll be honest there. Hunter Dozier's got some promise, but over they signed Carlos Santana, Andrew Benintendi, some, and they got a home run slugger extraordinaire in Jorge Soler. But I think things aren't gonna look good for these Kansas City Royals.
So I don't know if you remember, Brandon, but a couple of years ago, I, before the season started, had said, "Hey, you know what? You know what lineup looks kind of good? The Twins." And that season is when the Twins hit like more home runs than any other team in baseball history. Like it was one of those things where like no one was really talking about them and saying, "Hey, you know this line is actually pretty good." I get a lot of those vibes from looking at this year's Royals team. I get a lot of vibes where it's not necessarily like they're going to hit the most home runs because really there's only a couple guys that can hit homers, but there's a lot of really good on base guys. There's a lot of good contact hitters. Like Merrifield, I think is great.
Witt is so
Santana
underrated.
is consistent and gets on base. Salvador Perez actually had a great year last year and is one of the most underrated catchers in all of baseball. Soler has the potential to hit 50 home runs. I mean, he hit 49 in 2019. Uh, you know, Dozier, Mondesi's going to steal a ton of bases. Michael A. Taylor was acquired, and he'll be their center fielder this year. Like, I look at this team and I'm saying, hey, you know, that lineup could
It was
actually
on
do
13, so
quite
you
a
can
bit
leave
of
it on.
damage, especially in that division where,
No, no, you're
truthfully,
good.
other than the White Sox and
You can leave
Shane
it on
Bieber,
Jeopardy. You
the
can leave it on
pitching's not
Jeopardy
very
because you
good
also
at all.
watch Jeopardy.
So I think the Royals can hit. What concerns me a little bit is how's their pitching going to come along? Brady Singer, how does he develop? Brad Keller, how does he continue to develop? They got a couple veterans. Mike Minor, I thought was a pretty underrated signing, to be honest with you. The bullpen scares me with Greg Holland currently projected as their closer. And, you know, if this was 2014, I would like that a lot more. But this team's
Yeah,
going to hit, man. I wouldn't be surprised if this team hits and we are talking about the Royals playing actual meaningful games in September.
they could be. I will say this from an MLB The Show standpoint. Where is it? Alberto Mondesi is an absolute glitch. So pick up the game. Shameless plug for what I actually do for a living. Is he's an absolute glitch. Carlos Santana is very underrated, but I don't know. We'll see what the Twins do. I got them pegged as a 71 win team. I don't know what the over under is for them, but that's what I got.
So the Royals, they have them at 73 and a half, and I am screaming on the over there. Now they always put like odds on each of them. So for instance, like the over is minus 137, where the under is plus 110. So the them
Oh
going
my
over
god!
is pretty. It's like pretty high favored for them to go over, but this is a team that I think is going to be closer to 500 than to 70 wins, if I'm being honest. And it's really just because of their offense. I think they can hit the ball as good as anyone right now. So I'm going to go over that 73 and a half, and I have them honestly at about a 78 or 79 win team.
I'm gonna take the over just because literally those odds are too good for me not to take the over on.
73 and a half's low, right? It just feels really low.
It I'm okay with losing a couple bucks if that one doesn't pan out, to be honest with you. I all right. Moving on to a team you talk about a lot, I would assume, out there in Peoria, the Chicago White Sox signed an old white guy to be their manager this year. Added added a lot. Added a really good closer, you might say, and the crazy Australian guy Liam Hendricks. MVP on their roster. Tim Anderson, bona fide stud. Nick Madrigal, speed demon. Uh, re-signed Adam Eden, but they are going to be without uh, Leoy Jimenez for about 6 months, which is a giant loss for them. But also acquiring Lance Lynn. This team's going to be good.
They're a team that doesn't really have a lot of holes on paper, if you think about it. Now, the Eloy injury absolutely kills them, and it's just devastating. Fortunately, they have enough in that lineup to where I think they can be all right. Because you still look at that 1 through 5: Anderson, Grandal, Abreu, Moncada, Robert. it's really darn good. Like Luis Robert could be a 30-30 guy easily, and in only his second year in the bigs. He is fantastic. The question mark is going to be, okay, well, if Andrew Vaughn can be their new left fielder, he's a natural first baseman, so that's obviously going to be asking a lot of him. And then they got, Zach Collins, Nick Madrigal, a couple other top prospects who they're going to be asking quite a bit from this year. What really, though, I think a lot of people don't realize is that the White Sox have something that not a lot of teams have in this day and age. We talk all the time about how these teams don't allow their starting pitchers to actually pitch,
They go
like to
deep.
go deep into games. Like Lucas Giolito, Dallas Keuchel, and Lance Lynn are all guys who could very easily be 180 plus innings this year. Lance Lynn is a pretty solid bet for 200 innings, assuming he stays healthy, and he has been for 2 years now an excellent pitcher. Keuchel had an ERA under 2 last year, a little fluky, but it's still very good. And Giolito's a bona fide ace. So, like, the fact that they have those three guys, and that's not even getting to Dylan Cease, Carlos Rodon, maybe Michael Kopech can step up and be a part of that rotation this year. He's been someone who's been long heralded, but has been dealing with injuries. Like, this team to me
I mean,
should be first place in that division.
also having, dare I say it, Heroldis Chapman Light 2.0, if you will, and Garrett Crochet, who's absolutely
Yeah.
horrifying. I
Oh,
think
for sure. And Crochet, Aaron Bummer is really good too.
not a
Evan
bummer right
Marshall.
there, huh?
Yeah, like it's a bunch of like swing and miss guys in that bullpen, and that's what you see in October. What gets success is a bullpen that may not have flashy names, but it's guys who can get strikeout stuff. And the White Sox have a lot of that, and maybe the best closer in baseball right now with Hendricks.
All right, what do we see him at?
My odds would indicate, Mr. Brandon, that the Chicago White Sox are currently sitting at 90 and a half wins. I'm going to take the over on them.
I'll
I think
take
they win. I think they win low 90s.
over all day.
Yeah,
All right,
they're real. I mean, they're really good, and I know that we talk all the time about off season the hype and things, but like the White Sox are very reminiscent to me of what the Cubs were a few years ago. Like the Cubs arrived a year earlier than people thought, and then the next year they just absolutely broke out. That's how I feel about the White Sox right now. They kind of arrived a little bit earlier than expected with their year last year, and now they're going to break out, and I think they're going to run that division.
all right. So moving on to the city of Cleveland, where we have the Cleveland
Baseball
baseball
team,
team, who I will.
Spiders.
I'm going to call them the Spiders. Let's just bring it back. We all want them to be the Spiders. The Cleveland Spiders, who have an AL Cy Young Award winner Shane Bieber at the helm of the rotation, followed by guys like Tristan McKenzie. A lot of names that don't stand out. But they got some pitching there. They traded away all-star shortstop Francisco Lindor to the Mets, but they got Andres Gimenez, who is an absolute stud. They still have Jose Ramirez, who I might get in the draft in about 30 minutes if a certain.
No, you won't. He's my keeper.
Damn it! See, okay, I'm gonna break away from this facade. That means Anthony. Wait, that means Anthony Rendon or Alex Bregman are gonna be gone. Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, Rendon's available. I know that for sure.
I want Bregman to be available so bad.
Bregman was terrible last year. We'll get to the AL West in a second. Please continue.
All right, so they got a lot of guys I think who Franimal, the Franimal is I love the Franimal. They got a good team. I don't know if they're going to compete. I think the pitching might be a little lack in my opinion, but let's see what happens with these Cleveland Indians.
So yeah, I mean Shane Bieber is absolutely dynamic. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. And it's funny because their closer too, James Karinchak, last year, I don't know, he was one of those guys who like not a lot of people talked about. In 27 innings last year, he had 53 strikeouts.
He sucked in the show, so he's dead to me.
He had close to 18 strikeouts per 9 innings. Over a full year, Fangraphs projects him at 108 strikeouts in 64 innings. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah,
so they
good.
have maybe the best pitcher in the American League, one of the best strikeout closers, but it just seems like everything else besides those in that pitching staff are just not a ton to be excited about. I know that like Tristan McKenzie is one of their young prospects with some upside, and if he can be a serviceable member of that rotation, great. I still stupidly believe in Aaron Savali being a guy. Zach Plesac has shown plenty of flashes. But that pitching is going to need to all be really, really, really good to overcome a lineup that really, besides Jose Ramirez,
You're
has a
really
lot
shallow.
of. Yeah, I like it. Like it's shallow. Yeah, like I like Eddie Rosario, and I was surprised the Twins just let him go. Franimal is a
I love
40 home
him.
run guy, but he
I
doesn't do
love
anything
him.
besides that. And
That's
then
fine.
just like the rest of the line, it's kind of blah.
That's fine. If all he does is hit big dick homers, that is a win in my book. The Spects fan club loves big dick homers. Just saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Spects fan club loves Big Dick. That's what I heard.
Jealous?
Cut out there after that.
No, just put in the Stugatz laugh.
Where do you got the baseball team at? The Cleveland baseball
I
team.
got them at 80. I got them at 86 wins, and I would say under on 86 by a wide margin.
Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbook has them at 81 and a half. I'm going to go under that 81 and a half. I think it's a sub 500 team this year.
Yeah, I think they're going to sell really hard at the deadline. I think
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez will be in Atlanta by August.
Yeah, you called that in the last episode, Jose Ramirez to the Braves. Boy, wouldn't that be something?
I will.
I mean,
I'll tell you. I will tell you what they will get back. This is how strongly I think he will be in Atlanta. He will.
go.
Jose Ramirez, and I'll say they throw in some random pitcher like Nick Whittegren for Austin Riley, um, Bryce Wilson, and Drew Waters for Jose Ramirez and Nick Whittegren.
I think that's actually a pretty comparable package, to be honest with you. Like Riley, I would say Riley and one of the two outfielders, whether it's Pache or Waters, would be the starters. So yeah, I think that you're right on the money with that.
Boom. All right, moving on to the Twinkies.
Yes.
Let me move on to their roster. They re-signed old man, ageless wonder Nelson Cruz. They still have bringer of rain, Josh Donaldson. Um, Pitching's kind of meh. I think Kenta Maeda is a bona fide something for sure, but they don't have a lot in the ways of that. Miguel Sano is another big guy. They stole our shortstop Anderson Simmons. Um, I don't know how we feel about the Twins. I think they're a bit of a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, I mean they've hit really really well the last couple of years, and like Kepler, Cruz, Polanco, Sano are all like well above average hitters. Do you know Fangraphs projects Byron Buxton at 30 home runs this year?
I can see it. He's, but
But like
granted,
everyone always predicts it. I mean, he had 13 last year, so I think that that's probably taking that into account. He had the same amount of home runs last year as Eddie Rosario and Miguel Sano did, and Buxton had the same amount of home runs as Sano in
glitch.
70 less plate appearances.
He's a glitch.
So, like, who is Buxton?
Buxton's a glitch.
Yeah, but like, can you do it over a full season? Because it's still like, despite a 60-game season, he still missed a third of it. Like, he just can't stay healthy. So I don't. Again, it goes back to why I had reservations about
Glitch.
the Yankees guys. Like, can Buxton be a everyday guy? I don't think so at this point. Um, Jose Barrios is a good guy in that rotation, but he's honestly the only one that I somewhat like. I don't really like anyone else.
Mm.
Pineda, Happ, Shoemaker, Maeda.
I
Alex Colomé, I think that that was a nice addition to get Alex Colomé as their closer. Between him and Taylor Rogers, I think the two of them can hold it down pretty good.
I
It's a team that should compete for the playoffs. Let's put it that way.
I like Kenta Maeda, but I think the thing with Maeda is older guys did really well last year because they knew what they had to do, and like when you're only throwing 12 games as a starter, you're kind of like, okay, I can throw it all out there, not worry as much. I don't know what you're going to see this year at all from some of these like older guys. Like Rich Hill's going to be one of them. Maeda's going to be one of them. Where it's like, what are they going to do in a full season in their late 30s?
Right.
All right, what do we got them at?
So DraftKings has them at 88 and a half. That's high. I'm going to go with the under. And actually, the over 88 and a half is a wide favorite on this one, too. So you're actually getting plus money on the under. So with the White Sox success, with the Twins having some questions there, I'm going to go under 88 and a half. I see them as like an 86 win team this year.
Yeah, I'll take the under as well. I don't. They're the third best team, maybe the second best team in that division, but
Who would be better than them? Because I mean,
Chicago won, Cleveland maybe too. But like I said, I haven't been sellers, but I mean, if we're talking
Because
about
then it's Kansas City and Detroit. Like it's not a. I mean, that's why I'm so high on the White Sox. I think the White Sox can roll in that division and win it pretty comfortably.
yeah, maybe they are just a second place team basically because everything beneath them is just that far beneath them. Maybe
Playing the wild card game and lose
there
to
you
the
go.
Yankees.
All right, moving on to our division of our team. We're gonna start at the bottom. Actually, it might be our team. No, we're starting with the Rangers, who with the record of 22-38. They
Yippee!
they were they got rid of a lot. They got rid of Lance Lynn. Didn't really do a lot in the addition portion of it, but they still got Joey Gallo, who I also think will be gone by August. So I get it. There's not really a lot to say about the. They got a
Were
guy. They got a guy I really like. They got David Dahl and they got Chris Davis, but I really like David Dahl. I think David Dahl was a solid pickup for them, honestly. Not a lot to like in Texas.
By the way, Chris with a K Davis strained his quad a few days ago. I don't know if he's even going to be ready for opening day, and I know Willie Calhoun's also dealing with an injury as well. So like they're already bad outfield is going to be even worse on opening day potentially. I mean, this lineup, this rotation, the bullpen, all of it is bad. They are a bad baseball team. I was shocked by the way that Rugned Odor was DFA'd on Monday. Like he's not even going to be a part of the opening day roster. I wonder what his status is going to be
He
with the team
sucks.
going forward. Yeah, I mean, it was just surprising to see though. But like Joey Gallo, as much as we sit here and say, "Oh yeah, he slugs," and he could lead the league in home runs, but he'll also hit like 210.
Big
So
Dick Homers.
like,
We know. Hey, you know how I feel about them Big Dick
I
Homers.
know, I know,
Just
but at the end of
saying.
the day, you got to be able to do like other things besides just hit home runs.
If the
Because
guy, I said
if you
this.
if you hit 200 and strike out 200 times, you're not exactly helping your team a bunch. Ask Chris Davis with Baltimore what that's like. So,
I said this
I mean,
before, and I'll say it again. If Joey Gallo hit 260, the man would be a fantasy legend.
yes, if he hit 260, but what are the chances of that happening? It's
I don't know.
very, very low.
That 1 year I traded him to you, he seemed to be hitting about 260.
Yeah, and then he got hurt, so it was just a short sample size. So that's really what it comes down to.
All right, what do we got on that?
I have their numbers at 66 and a half. I'm going to take the under. I think that it's a team that could legitimately lose 100 games this year.
I got him at 67 wins, and I'm taking the under.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our team, the Hometown Angels, who I'm currently watching with Shohei Ohtani on the mound. I think every time we speak of them, we just speak in pain and agony. They got Alex Cobb. Oh boy. Oh boy, does that get you nice and ready to go? They got Russell Iglesias. They signed Jose Quintana. We got Otani back. They also traded in a separate deal, mind you, to get Jose Iglesias to fill the hole vacated by Alderton Simmons. They also acquired very cheaply Dexter Fowler, who will probably start in right field. Um, Everyone's really high on these Angels. Fox Sports, the MLB fans for Fox Sports on Twitter have them winning the AL West. So maybe we're being too hard on them, but apparently everyone loves the Angels. I think we both had some thoughts on our team.
So I would like to read to you some lyrics from a song that I feel like we can
Don't you
relate to.
dare! Don't you dare!
Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around? And then, worst of all, you never call baby when you say you will, but I love you still. That is the perfect song. As much as we hate it, the perfect encapsulation of the Angels. Every year, it's the same story uh, of looking and saying, "Hey, that lineup is going to be great. Oh, their pitching could come around. Oh, they've improved the bullpen," and nothing ends up changing. Now, all that being said, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic here for a number of reasons. Okay, number one. Anthony Rendon last year was on pace to have a career year in terms of his on base, in terms of his average. Over the course of a full year, I think we're really going to see the effects of what he can do behind Trout. Number two, Jose Iglesias is going to be a huge offensive upgrade over Andrelton Simmons. Dexter Fowler, as average as he is going to be a pretty significant upgrade over what Joe Adell was last year. Number 3, Jose Quintana, Alex Cobb have very, very low bars to climb over from what they had last year with Julio Teheran. And I don't even remember who the heck the other one that they added to the rotation was. Point is, if Quintana and Cobb can be average, it is already going to be significantly better than all of the other 1-year cheap acquisitions that the Angels try to do. I still think Dylan Bundy can be a good pitcher. And if Shohei Ohtani can give him 15 starts this year, even that would be huge. And then the bullpen is improved. And we know last year from experience that they had a number of blown saves. They couldn't get the closer position right. If Raisel Iglesias can hold it down this year, and Mike Myers can still be a nice setup guy to lead into him like he was at the end of last year, the bullpen is going to be improved as well. So, like, Perry Minasian has actually done, like, exactly what he was supposed to, where the starting pitching is improved, the bullpen looks to be stable, and I think it's a lineup that improved in the areas it absolutely needed to. So again, it's all going to disappoint and blow up in our face, but like the improvements are there. It's a better team than it was last year, and there's not really a doubt in my mind about that.
This ultimately, in my mind, comes down to one player and one player only. Can Shohei Ohtani be the Shohei Ohtani that we saw in 2017? If that's the case, then this team, I think, has a very, very high ceiling. I see
Right.
him. He's pitching right now. If you look at the spring numbers for him, his ERA is really, really high, but I don't care about the ERA. He's looked insanely good. He's struggling right now. He's at 20 pitches in the first inning. He's got 2 outs with the bases are loaded, but looking at stuff from Otani, he's back to what he was. And if he does well, I think this team is so much better than we think they might be. But ultimately, that does come back to the whole thing of I'm sure his elbow will blow up by start 3. Um, but I think this team's probably better than we give it credit for. But I just hope that in a division as we continue is weaker and that the Angels can just be better than their competition.
I mean, he hit 190 last year, so even offensively, he was just not there. And if the spring is any indication, like the bat is just absolutely crushing it right now. So
And the
he'll
pitching will come. Like
you hope like if Dylan Bundy can be decent, if Griffin Canning can be decent, and then if Quintana and Cobb are average, like they'll be fine. Like they will be fine. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's World Series good, but like
it's
I think
content
it's playoff good.
it's contention good, and then deadline you never know what's gonna happen. They can add a pitcher.
Right.
They can go out and get an ace, and we don't have a problem. Like I said, I think the one thing to keep in perspective for them is spring training is more for pitchers about getting feeling good and getting feel right. And so far, eye test Shohei Otani's doing great. He passes the eye test and the smell test, so we're good on that one. So over under on the Angels.
DraftKings has them at 83.5. Keep in
Over.
mind, there's one team that has not finished above 500 for 5 straight
And
years.
that's us.
That's the Angels. Um, I would like to also say over. I don't know how much over, but I think that they will be. I will say this: they will definitely be above 500 this year. If they're not, then I'm starting to think that this organization is cursed.
Yeah, I'm saying over. I think they, like I said, I think optimistically they win the AL West because every other team just got weaker.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, we're moving on to the team I despise probably the second most in this entire division, the Seattle Mariners, with a record of 27-33. They are loaded with prospects and a very racist guy at the former racist guy at the helm. The Mariners absolutely horrify me in the next few years, but I don't think they're going to be good in the next few years. But Jared Kelnick, Julio Rodriguez are going to come up and be absolute menaces. But until that day comes, they can continue to suck.
Yeah, the prospects, Kelnick and Rodriguez are going to be really good. Um, Logan Gilbert is probably their top pitching prospect. He'll be up this year as well, and he actually, I think, might have already been up. So,
Let me
um,
look.
like Kyle Lewis is the reigning American League Rookie of the Year. Mitch Haniger is going to be back for them. Dylan Moore was a really nice piece for them. Evan White is a nice, solid power hitting first baseman. Like they have a future that I think a lot of teams are envious of. The rotation past, Marco Gonzalez, they brought back James Paxton, so he's back in Seattle. I'd like to see what Yusei Kikuchi does. I'd like to see if Justice Sheffield can become what he was supposed to be honest with you. But
We'll see.
I could see this team honestly. I could see this team going one of two ways. I could see them being a sneaky, very, very, very sneaky wild card contender, or I could see like 68 wins.
Yeah, I think they.
So
I think they at least play spoiler.
yeah, so the Mariners they have them at 72 and a half. And I mean the odds are minus 112 for both of them. So it's really a coin flip but whether you want to go over or under there. I will go for the Mariners over in the off chance because maybe Houston and the A's are a little bit worse and the Rangers are going to be really really bad. So I'm going to go Mariners over 72 and a half.
I think also over. I think they might flirt with 500, but I don't necessarily know if they'll get there. But I think, like I said,
Right.
overall this division's a lot weaker than 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 a lot. All right, moving on to the most hated team in baseball, the Houston Astros. Trash can, trash can,
Boo.
trash can, bang bang.
Boo.
They lost George Springer last year. This team struggled mightily throughout. They are without Justin Verlander again for the whole year because of Tommy John surgery. This team is not. I think they're very overrated. They did get Jake Odorizzi, but overall they lost a lot on the bullpen side. Forrest Whitley's also out for the year. I think this team's definitely on the downswing. They are close to contract hell in the next few years. Carlos Correa's a free agent this year. Bregman's a free agent next year, I believe. The clock's ticking on these guys, but they have a masher. They all this team can mash with Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker, but I don't think they'd be as good as
Like
you think.
Well, here's the thing though, like everyone's kind of down on them and they had a really off year last year, which makes sense because they didn't know what pitches were coming. But like their 1 through 7, even without Springer, is really darn good. Like this is their projected lineup for 1 through 7. Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Correa, Alvarez, Gurriel, Tucker. And keep in mind, Jordan Alvarez, I think, played 2 games last year. 2 games, had 9 plate appearances. So they got nothing from Alvarez, who the year before was an absolute monster. So, like, they lose Springer, but they essentially gain Alvarez. So the lineup is still going to be really, really good. The pitching, I don't love Zach Greinke this year. I do really like McCullers though, and I'm very curious to see what guys like Javier and Urquidy can do. 24, 25-year-old dudes who have some potential. I mean, they're still going to be a really good team. I'm not going to sleep on them. I know you may be a little bit down on them, but I think that they can still be a really good team.
All right, what we got on them?
I have them at 87 and a half, and
Oh,
I am unfortunately going to go over.
I'm going under. I don't
I
think
think that's
they're.
our first disagreement today.
I don't think they're. I don't think I'm not high on them, but I've been very. I'm harsh on them, but I don't think they're as good as you think. That's my opinion.
And then last
But
team, Brandon,
last team,
close us out.
last but not least, the Oakland A's, the winners of the AL West a year ago, also losing a lot. They they did get Trevor Rosenthal. They got Sergio Romo. They got some young guns in this rotation. Uh, Offensively, I think they're going to do really, really well. I mean, you got Sean Murphy, Sean Murphy back there. Matt Chapman will be back. They acquired Elvis Andrews. Matt Olson's project. I think Matt Olson could hit 40 home runs. Chad Pinder is a good bat. My sneaky hot pick and sleeper candidate of the year, Mark Canna and Steven Piscotty, Ramon Liriano. This team might be the favorite to win the AL West, but I don't know. You never really know. I think the pitching might be a little bit lackey, but I think they are the favorite as of now to win this division.
Well, according to DraftKings, and we'll get to the over/under total, but according to DraftKings, they are lower than Houston. So I think Houston is still technically favored. But to me, like the A's are the West Coast version of the Rays, where like you look and it's like I don't know how they win 90 plus games every year, but yet they still find a way. Um, their starting rotation it really hinges on like Lazardo being healthy, Manea being healthy, Montas being healthy. Chris Bassett, I think, was a little bit of a flash in the pan last year. He had an ERA that was low twos, but his things like FIP and all of like the park adjusted ERA shows that he was actually a lot more average than we think. So I think that he'll come down to earth a little bit, and he's currently their opening day starter. The bullpen with Rosenthal, with Diekman, with Romo, with Trevino, the bullpen once again is really, really good. The lineup, I think that you hit it right on the money with a few of those guys. I really like Mark Hanna. Ramon Laureano is a guy who I think is really, really good as well. I'm curious to see, though, if they get a bounce back from Matt Olson and Matt Chapman for that matter. Olson last year hit a buck 95. I mean, it was just really, really bad. And then Chapman was only 232 with a 276 on base. Like neither of them hit well. So they absolutely need both of those guys to sort of turn things around because if not, that could really bring that lineup down.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough go about it for them. Let's get to it and wrap this bad boy up. What do we got him, Matt? Timbo?
I will close with the A's. They're at 86.5 on DraftKings. I have the A's going under. I'm going to go under on the A's. I'm going to hope and pray and hope that the Angels can be that second place team, that team that contends with Houston in that division. So maybe it's the Angels that end up with 86, 87 wins and the A's are closer to like 83. So I'm going to go under that 86.5 for Oakland.
I think they're under. I don't. I, I'm sort of hard pressed for them to be like there. I think that, like I said, I think the division overall got weaker, and I don't think they have the pitching, to put it simply. All right, that is all 30 teams. Well, hopefully, we gave you some information, some good knowledge. Once again, thanking our
And some
buddy. What?
and some fun pronunciations of
Yeah,
names.
my terrible pronunciation of names. And once again, having our good buddy Tim Van Straten of ESPN Peoria, our baseball expert, sports expert in general. He knows his hockey. He's a Ducks fan like me. We're just in pain constantly.
Just the worst. Just the worst team in the world.
Yeah, we are. We have some teams. But with all that being said, we hope to have you back on the podcast again soon.
Would love to come anytime, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Want to do it again tomorrow?
No, I'm busy. I'm just kidding.
Rude. All right. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you next time. All right.
Adios.
Bye. Have a home and home.